just not.
All right.
I don't.
Welcome to Black and Gold Digital Edition, a behind-the-scenes look at your Pittsburgh Steelers.
Hi, and welcome to Week 5 of our digital show. I'm Jay Pushkar alongside Mike Fenner and Kent Urbanski. And gentlemen, the Pittsburgh Steelers have lost 3 straight games. They are now 0-2 at Acrisure Stadium. A surprising loss to the New York Jets as they had a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter, only to give that away with the Jets scoring the last 14. Kent, what did you take away from a game in which we saw Kenny Pickett make his first, at least, presence on the field in the regular season?
Energy. The place lit up. The whole atmosphere of the stadium changed when it was announced that he was coming on the field. And that's what he does. He brings that energy, and you could actually see a little difference in all of the other players that were on the field as well when he came in. He added the spark that was necessary, scored a couple of touchdowns. I really don't blame him or fault him for the picks that he threw. They were catchable balls, and they just the tips went the wrong way there. So had they not, we're talking about a win instead of a loss. So I think that's what Kenny brings to this team, and I'm looking forward to see what he does down the road.
And even in his post-game comments, he said, hey, I've got great wide receivers. If they've got a 50-50 ball, I am going to throw it to them because he has that much trust in them to go up and get it. And unfortunately, Chase Claypool didn't go up and get it.
Yeah, didn't help him out at all.
And the third interception, that's a Hail Mary, and you've got to do it because you're trailing by 4. But, Mike, what did you take away from Kenny Pickett being able to go down to the practice on Wednesday? Just the vibe and how practice was going for them as he's going to make his first start up in Buffalo.
Well, he followed up those post-game comments by saying after reviewing the film, he felt that he was validated in those thoughts and confirmed, he still feels good about the throws, still feels good about the decisions, and that he's going to continue to let it rip. How about some of those throws in the second half? I mean, the throw where he gets just hit so hard, stays in there, hangs in the pocket, finds Pat Freiermuth over the middle. Some throws to a guy like George Pickens, who I would expect to get more involved now with Pickett in the lineup. I think you're going to see more of 14, the rookie out of Georgia. I think there's a lot to be optimistic about. And then talking to a guy like Mason Cole on the offensive line, they said it's going to be up to those guys to bring it even more. Not that they're not going to bring it for Mitch, but for those guys to really make sure they're bringing along the rookie, make sure he's comfortable in the huddle, which it seemed like he was. Those guys seem to be breeding a lot of confidence from number 8, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how he continues to develop. I think it's going to be fun to watch this next month or so to start off.
And Ken, I think psychologically too, going back to the post game, he just commanded the room. He felt very calm. He felt very comfortable. Now, granted, he did play at Pitt for so long, and he's known a lot of those reporters and media members, but he felt like he's been in the league for at least a year under his belt already, and he's ready to go with this new opportunity.
He's just a little older than your average rookie, and I think a little bit mature for his age. And he's a gamer, and there's no doubt about that. You saw that in him at Pitt. He wants to win. He has said that in the locker room, or not a locker room, but in the post-press conference. He said, I just want to win, and I want to do whatever it takes to win. I like that, So, and if that, means that he's going to throw some balls downfield and let the receivers make plays, I'm okay with that. That's how you win games. You don't win without taking some sort of risk. And I think Kenny's going to bring that to this team. He might be the difference maker and making that offensive line better than what it is, too.
Lastly, on this topic, I mean, Mitch Trubisky, I feel bad for him, but I also feel like he's handling this with great professionalism because he was hoping to get back into that starting role, and now he's bumped down to number 2. The fact that he's going to be able to handle this, what kind of mentorship can he provide to Kenny, at least for week number 5 and making his first start?
Well, to start, I think this is a good week to have him as number 2 guy because he's familiar with Buffalo and some different staff because Brian Daboll's in New York, but some of the things that they like to do offensively, so that'll help. He knew that this was the deal going into it, right? I mean, he knew he was going to have to at some point step aside. He didn't expect it to be so soon, but he's a pro, and I think he's also a guy that's going to be game ready, and he's not going to be feeling sorry for himself. He realizes he's also one play away, just like Pickett was.
Right.
He's a hit away. He's a fluky play away from being right back in there on the field. So don't be surprised if he's called upon at some point, even if it's just for a play, a drive, a fourth quarter, But I think he's handled it well, will continue to handle it that way, and that he knew the deal when he came in here after that draft pick was made.
And guys, it's been a long time since the Steelers have been a road underdog by this many points. I think at this point it's up to about 14.
yeah.
I think the last time was Super Bowl 30 when they were going up against the Dallas Cowboys. I think it was at 13.5. So they've got a daunting task going up
Right.
to Buffalo now. And Buffalo has bounced back nicely after that tough loss a couple weeks ago. They're now 3-1. They remember last year, too. They're going to make sure that history doesn't repeat itself.
Yeah, no TJ Watt to get after the quarterback up there. So they're going to have to be creative in their schemes and putting pressure on him and not letting him get into those manageable third down situations that he's so good at with his legs, you know. So tough place to play. Buffalo's a really good football team. They're really good defensively. And for them to go up there and sneak out another win, it's going to be tough, but I like their chances a little bit with Kenny. I think he's a competitor, and I think he changes the dynamic of that offense. And I think if they can keep the ball and have some extra possessions and keep Josh Allen off the field, who knows what could happen.
And Mike, Buffalo's banged up. I mean, that game against Miami in which they lost, those guys were not only getting dehydrated, but they were dropping like flies. And then a tough victory on the road in Baltimore. All of a sudden, this defense seems a little vulnerable. No Micah Hyde for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, Buffalo is vulnerable, but it's going to be a tough challenge for this Steelers offense.
Yeah, that offensive line was decimated in that Miami matchup between injury and, like you said, just the dehydration. Obviously, they've recovered well. What a win for the Bills in Baltimore. Down 17 points to win there. I mean, that's a really tough, gritty comeback win. So you almost wonder if coming off that high, they maybe come down a little bit because it took so much to come back and win that game, that maybe Pittsburgh can catch them a little bit weary early on in the game, and maybe you take advantage of a special teams play or a field position early, that you get some confidence with a young rookie quarterback. But yeah, this defense is going to be really challenged. When I talked to Alex Highsmith, the first question I asked him was like, "What's the hardest thing to prepare for?" And it all starts with Josh Allen. He said it's just he puts you in so many just compromising situations, because really Allen's also a fearless runner like Pickett. Allen's got a big body, and he's not afraid to use it and just plow through defenders. He is a fearless runner, and if he's got to be running back one, we've seen over the last few years, he'll do it. I mean, he'll throw for 350 and run for 100 if he has to, if that's what it takes for the Bills to win. So he's going to be the biggest, obviously, threat. But Stephon Diggs, it's well documented what he does. Dawson Knox as well. Gabe Davis, though, is the guy that's really broken out at the beginning of this season. Got to stay healthy, but the secondary is going to be really tested. So is the pass rush.
Josh
feel like
Allen's accuracy's gotten a lot
Oh,
better,
so
too.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like Knox is going to have a really big game, too, because
Yeah.
last week against the Jets, again, the middle of the field is being exploited by the Steelers defense. They've really got to shore that up, and that'll be a primary target for Josh Allen to team up, at least with his tight ends in the middle of the field. Now, Kent, this game, I mean, does Pittsburgh really have to go and almost cliche win ugly and just really try to take Buffalo out of their comfort zone, out of their element to,
I think
to
they
steal
do.
one?
The only way they can do that is to get up on them early and take the crowd out of it, you know, and then, get Kenny Pickett comfortable in the atmosphere on the road in a hostile environment. That's going to help if they quiet the crowd down. So if they're able to do that and get the defense off the field. They're getting tired in the fourth quarter. That's why it's opening up over the middle. So if they can limit the possessions for Buffalo offensively, I like a tighter game, but I still think it's going to be tough for them to get a win.
Mike, do you see Najee Harris finally stepping up? Because, in order to help a quarterback, you got to have a great running game. This could be the game where he finally breaks out. He's been dormant for a long time.
Yeah, and I think he even admitted, it's not all the offensive line's fault, because I think a lot of people want to point fingers there with some youth, some inexperience, some lack of continuity. I think he's tired of people talking about that. He's like, no, I got to make sure I'm following the holes the right way, seeing it better, having better vision. I think he could be set for a breakout. I think the biggest key for this game, ultimately at the end of the day, it's going to come down to turnovers and red zone defense, because the Bills in week 1 against the Rams had a couple early turnovers, kept the Rams in it. And then against the Dolphins, Buffalo piled up the yardage but couldn't finish in the red zone. So I think those are the biggest factors. I could see Pittsburgh needing to be +2, +3 in the turnover category. Not an easy ask, but they were +5 in Cincinnati, so it's possible.
Well, we'll see how it all unfolds in week number 5. The Buffalo Bills 3-1, the Steelers 1-3. They're hoping to snap out of that 3-game slide. For Ken Urbanski, Mike Fenner, I'm Jay Pushkar. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks for watching. Join us again next week for Black and Gold Digital Edition.